Greetings, my name is Lloyd Potter. I'm the Texas State Demographer and the Director of the Texas Demographic Center. I'm extremely pleased to be with you today for the virtual summer road trip for the census being sponsored by the Texas Counts campaign. The Texas Demographic Center is extremely dependent upon a complete and accurate count of population during the census. We produce population estimates and projections for the state, and the census is the basis of that. And our estimates and projections are used by state agencies, by businesses, by schools, all kinds of cities and counties, local government. And if we have poor data, it's going to be somewhat problematic for the balance of the decade. We've had some significant challenges here with the COVID-19 outbreak, and that has really slowed the effort to complete the census in a timely fashion. In fact, just now, the census offices are opening again, and they're starting the process of collecting data again by sending out enumerators. So I'd like to talk to you about a few things, and I'm going to share my screen here with you to discuss a number of aspects of the census and important issues. First, you can see that the census is important. We use it for reapportionment. We're expecting that Texas will get potentially another 3 seats in the U.S. House of Representatives. It influences our electoral college votes. And then importantly, it's used to redraw congressional and state legislative boundaries. But probably one of the more important things is how much money comes back to the state as a function of our population count. It's estimated that for every 1% undercount that we have in Texas, that Texas will lose about $300 million per year for the balance of the decade. And last decade, in the 2010 census, we had about a 1% undercount. You can see here, this shows what are referred to as hard to count tracts, census tracts. They're dispersed around the state, but certainly if you look at the Rio Grande Valley from El Paso all the way down to Brownsville, that there are a number of areas there that are considered hard to count. But if you look at the other areas of the state, there are also other hard to count areas. There's an effort to estimate the predicted non-response to the 2020 census. So they're by using a number of methods, the Census Bureau can predict whether or not people will be likely to mail their census form back. Of course, this time we're also using the internet and telephone. But you can see here, again, there are a number of areas that have really high predicted non-response rates for the initial pass at collecting data. And if you zoom in on some of the geographic areas in the state, here we have the Austin-San Antonio corridor, the Houston area, the lower Rio Grande Valley, and then the Dallas-Fort Worth area. And if you look at some of the census tracts, there are some that are really, pretty good response rates, and others that have really high response rates, sometimes right next to each other. And so that really highlights the need for us, as the census is picking back up and the census employees are starting to go back out into the field, that we make people aware of this and get them engaged in completing the census. There are, of course, a lot of activities happening around the state. We've lost some momentum, and now it's time to pick it back up. And so certainly the summer road trip is a great opportunity to increase awareness and get people engaged. But we have a lot of complete count committees that now need to be reactivated now that the census is starting to collect data again. The census has a number of different strategies they're using to collect data. The purple ones here are internet first, so those are they've sent them a mailing, and the goal there is to get people to complete the census by using the internet. But then you have something that's called Update and Leave, the yellow, and those are places where they're not even getting a mailing until a census employee is going to go to the house and leave a letter and a census form encouraging the household to participate, to either send the census form back or to participate online. And that's the activity that is just now really starting post the COVID-19 restrictions that we were having in terms of offices being closed and so on. So now is the time that people are going to start getting these hand-delivered packages. We've spent a little time looking at correlates of response rates in Texas, and here you can see these are the association between poverty and households responding. So this is a negative association, so the slope being downward. You can see the higher people are likely to be, the higher the census tract is to have high poverty percent in poverty, the less likely they are to respond to the census. So that's a challenge for us. Here's the percent update and leave in responding. And so if the census is sending the form by a census employee showing up at the house and leaving a form, they're much less, those census tracts have a much lower response rate than those that are internet first. And then the last one we'll look at here is access to the internet. And of course, you can see those places that have access are much more likely to have responded already. So again, the Texas Counts campaign is very focused on trying to encourage a complete count. The Texas Demographic Center is right there with the Texas Counts campaign, encouraging people to participate in the census. So count and be counted and do everything you can to get your community counted. It's really important. So those are the basic things I wanted to mention today. And again, thank you so much for participating in the summer road trip. We're really excited about getting reinvigorated about completing census forms and getting your communities engaged. I hope you have a great road trip, and I hope to see you around the state sometime in the not too distant future.